People are starting to question, does Kamala Harris even have a platform? What is she really running on? We're going to be going through all of this and much more with my special guest, Michaela Montgomery. Michaela, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you've gone viral. Your face, your name has gotten out there. Your support of Donald Trump, conservative values. You've really made a name for yourself. Did you expect things to blow up and go crazy like they have?
Absolutely not. I mean, I always knew I was going to be a star in this realm, but like how I was going to get there, I had no clue. It happening practically overnight definitely came as a surprise as well. But I mean, I'm happy. I'm ready. This is half of what I wanted, I guess. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I wanted to ask because I'm confused. I think a lot of other people are confused. But outside of Donald Trump being a bad man, what is Kamala Harris's platform? I can't figure it out. Can you?
I can't figure it out either. I mean, there's rumors saying that she laid it out in her speech at the DNC, but I haven't seen any follow-up interviews. I don't see any press rollouts or releases. I haven't really heard much of anything aside from her copying all of Donald Trump's ideas.
Yeah. She's saying that she will get a ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. She's saying no tax on tips, even though she and Joe Biden worked to hire another 80,000 people to check your Cash App or your Venmo app.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's saying, after demonizing the border as being racist, xenophobic for 7 years, she's now saying the United States must have a border 70 days from the election. She's also rejecting Joe Biden's electric vehicle mandate. And she's saying, I will do better than the previous administration, but she is the previous administration. Is she just going to copy all of Donald Trump's talking points?
It seems like she's going to copy all of Donald Trump's talking points. And then if she were to get elected by, some strange twist of fate, she would then just blame Joe Biden for any and all of her failures and, say that, oh, I wasn't president then, but since I'm president now, I can do something about it. Even though you've been in all the rooms, you've been at every briefing, you've been at every advisory council hearing in which people have told you exactly what's going on, exactly what needs to be addressed, and you guys moved on with your own agenda that didn't include Americans. You guys went forward with Ukraine, you went forward with Iran, you guys moved forward with these migrants, all the while hurting our economy, costing people their jobs, their livelihoods, and things of that nature. So it's quite peculiar to see her, get up here and act like everything is so joyous and that she's going to continue to bring all this joy when literally the entire nation is suffering right now.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. You are the founder of Conserve the Culture. You are also the director of Blexit for the state of Georgia. I'm guessing a lot of my audience doesn't know what Blexit is. Could you just give us some background on what that is?
So Blexit is the big nonprofit spearheaded by Candace Owens. Blexit represents the Black exit from the Democratic Party. So I joined back in 2019, I believe, and when she came down here to Atlanta, Georgia, and hosted one of her first rallies. And I was just amazed. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And so I've been a member since then. I became a city coordinator about 3 years ago, and it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years into my role as state director here in Georgia. I also do the Fulton County coordinator work for America First Works, where we're bringing in volunteers and throwing events in support of President Trump. They're a conservative, think tank, and we put things together. So it's fun. I've been doing, the work in the conservative world for like ever. So sucks to the rest of the world that y'all just found out about me. But the fact that everybody's acting like they're so surprised that this cool young Black girl is actually interested in Republican politics, it just really speaks to the lack of diversity, on this side, and the lack of diversity when it comes to political thought expected from the other side. It's really hey, we're a cult. If you don't agree with us, then you're not one of us. And it's like, dang, I thought, this was a big family thing. So it's been a very interesting journey. But Yeah, the work that I do is mainly just making sure our kids have what they need when they go to school, making sure parents know where to obtain certain resources throughout the year, whatever it may be that they need, bringing awareness to the needs of the community via, showing up to local government meetings. Excuse me. Oop, thought I was going to sneeze. So just different things, helping, knock doors, make phone calls and things like that. When it comes to elections, just really trying to get people to understand that policy matters, and that your personal values should align with what and who you're voting for. And I think, unfortunately, that's something that we're losing a lot of this election. There's a lot of distractions around this election, and not enough focus on the values. And I think that it would be an easy win for Trump, honestly, if people were just focusing on the values.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great advice. So in 2016, Donald Trump, according to data, picked up around 9% of the black vote. In 2020, around 16% of the black vote. And now they're saying right now upwards of around 30%. So this idea of the black community joining the conservative movement, I think is still kind of new and exciting. But why do you think people are so drawn to Donald Trump? Is it just his personality, or is it the fact that he speaks about values, as you just mentioned?
It's the fact that he speaks about values, and then whether people want to admit it or not, Donald Trump gives you who he is right in your face, and I think a lot of people appreciate that authenticity aspect that comes with him. At the end of the day, regardless of what comment he may have said to hurt somebody's feelings, at least he had the balls to say it, and he knew exactly where his head is, So for people to act like, they're just so surprised that black people like him. There are also black people who are smart enough to get their news outside of social media. And a lot of black people do value the Second Amendment. A lot of black people do value the First Amendment and being able to speak and think openly and freely as they choose. We have a lot of black people that are world travelers and have seen firsthand what socialism and communism looks like. And they do not want that to come back to America. You have black people who are big time economists. And so they see the economy and they understand how funding all these foreign wars is harmful to us. Like, you have black people that do more than just sit around and watch TV. And I think the Democratic Party has been leaning on people who just sit around and watch TV. And now that the folks who really do the research are really like sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're making their voices heard, and they're making more of a big deal of this election because they understand the gravity of what could happen if this election doesn't go our way. I believe that, that's why we're seeing a rise in popularity when it comes to President Trump. And additionally, again, people lived through a President Trump administration, and people have lived through a Biden-Harris administration. And so while Harris can act like, oh, I'm not the president, sweetheart, it's the Biden-Harris administration. Therefore, you're an integral part of the administration, So whatever has gone wrong these last 3.5 years, yes, sweetheart, we can look to you and wonder why you haven't done anything in regards to even setting yourself up to be president. Like, if you can identify that the economy is bad, if you can identify the fact that people can't buy groceries, people can't pay their rent, then in the last 3.5 years, why have you not done anything to shine attention on that? Oh, I'm going to go after companies that are illegally price gouging. Why in the world would you wait to do something like that? And for people to act like she can't do anything because she's the vice president. Michelle Obama was the first lady and single-handedly changed school lunches across America. So if Kamala Harris was really passionate about anything, literally anything, all she had to do was talk about it. She didn't need Joe Biden to start an initiative. She didn't need Joe Biden to raise awareness. She only needed herself and a microphone. And she didn't use either of those things to bring awareness to anything or help anybody out of the situations that they're currently in now. But she's expecting to drive on this campaign of hope and joy, believing that if you vote for her, the status quo will just change day one, immediately, as if the status quo couldn't be worked on right now.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Don Lemon did an interview with Jen Psaki, and during that interview, he talked about how he went to some of the biggest swing states and swing cities in this upcoming election, and he was shocked by two things. Number one, most people didn't know anything about Kamala Harris, who she was, what she stands for. And the second one was that people believed they were better off financially under Trump. Whether that's true or not, he said they believed that, and that those are two really difficult things to overcome. Do you think that those will play a major part in the upcoming election? Because the mainstream media would have us believe she's winning, she's the better option. And yet, when you get down into talking to the people, they don't know who she is, and they feel like they had more money under Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on that?
I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. And I think that a lot of people are going to be voting with their pockets this election. A lot of people are going to go to the polls, you know, with the back of their, with the thought in the back of their mind of, wow, my groceries have continuously gone up year after year after year. And yet what else has gone up? The amount in aid packages that we send over to Ukraine. Like every bill you guys pass, for whatever reason, has a stimulus package for Ukraine. You know, people are going to the polls in mind like, dang, a gallon of gas costed, 3 times as much as it did the last time I came here. You know, people are going to the polls with knowing that they're struggling, and regardless of how much the Biden-Harris pays Meta and Google to make sure they show everything joyous and hopeful, like they can't change everybody's day-to-day real life. Like you can't, regardless of what you put on their TVs, ignore the fact that the first of the month is coming up and everybody's about to struggle to pay that rent. You know, the weekend is coming up and mothers and fathers have to keep food on the table all day for the next, for the weekend because their kids aren't going to school. Like there are so many things that people are dealing with that they cannot ignore because it genuinely affects their everyday life. And that's not going to change. I don't think they're going to forget those things when going to the polls. The unfortunate thing that I do think we will see, though, is some people be too prideful to vote for a Republican or vote for Donald Trump. You will have people who will admit that the economy is in a terrible state. You will have people that will admit that Americans have been put last these last 3.5 years, and we cannot afford another Harris administration of any sort. And yet, instead of putting their support behind Donald Trump and being loud and proud about the fact that they are upset with the current state of America and they believe change would come with Donald Trump, those people are going to stay home. We're going to see very low voter turnout this election. I think that both sides are going to be very disappointed in the amount of votes that come out. But I do believe that, again, the people who are ready to vote for Donald Trump, the people who have no shame in casting a ballot for Donald Trump are 1,000% going to get out here and vote. The people that you just mentioned who don't really know Kamala Harris, don't really know what she stands for, that's going to be the exact reason why they will lack the motivation to go to the polls because they have no idea what they're voting for. And so that's why I'm so happy people like me exist and have been given a platform to be able to tell people like, yo, it's all right, y'all. It's all right if you don't agree with this. It's okay if you don't want to see more of that. Like, it's all right if you're not with her. Because unfortunately, popularity and peer pressure, even though a lot of us aren't in school anymore, those things still exist in your everyday life. And a lot of people are being peer pressured into supporting Kamala Harris. None of this is genuine. And again, that peer pressure will not be enough to drive those people to the polls. And so I think Trump will win by a landslide, and it won't be because so many people came out for him, but because so many people stayed home because of Kamala Harris.
Interesting. Very interesting. You mentioned Fulton County, Georgia. You're near Fulton County?
I'm in Fulton County, yeah.
Oh, you're in Fulton. Okay. So were you at all shocked when the election board of Fulton County came out and said, we're missing 380,716 ballot images from voting day? Like, either someone deleted them because they didn't want us to see what was on them, or they never existed. And yet, at the same time, Donald Trump is still on trial against Fani Willis for questioning the election, that there's now evidence that, almost 500,000 votes were either invented or destroyed so that they can't prove that he didn't win. What were your thoughts on that big story?
I think that further proves how far the left will go to try and discredit Donald Trump or make him look crazy. Because even I myself, as a Trump supporter, did not know that the phone call between him and Brian Kemp went, but with Trump saying that he knows he won those 12,000 votes. So make the call to open an investigation to find my 11,000 votes. You know, all of us here were thinking that Trump tried to bully Kemp into finding 11,000 votes, not to open an investigation. And so I think that also, if you were here living in Fulton County and you were watching the local news last election night, there were reports of, you saw people putting ballots in weird piles that they never had to explain. The power went out at some polling stations and they didn't report a winner, or their precinct didn't do 100% reporting until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody was asleep. You had a water pipe burst all of a sudden, and like, you know, this other precinct was offline and they couldn't do anything. And then they mysteriously woke up the next morning with some finalized numbers as well. Like, you had all kinds of fishy stuff going on out here. And additionally, as somebody who does the grassroots work, I can genuinely say on the ground, I see more support for Donald Trump than I do for Kamala Harris. And even back then, you had more people saying they enjoyed their life under Trump and they would vote to have Trump stay in office than people saying that they wanted to see Joe Biden came in here and change things. Like, the narrative on social media that everybody had all this hope in Joe Biden is not what I saw in real life. People were not direly hoping for a new leader because they felt like their world was in chaos, you know? And so for Trump to have come to Georgia multiple times and to have a lot of friends here in Georgia and to know that the people here support him, for him to question with all the news stories that were coming out that night as well, that maybe perhaps there wasn't an accurate vote count presented and he very well may have won Georgia. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I'm on the ground. And you even have elected Democrats out here who will tell you that they support Trump, who will tell you that they have people in their district who are supporting Trump, and they're not upset with them because they know their coworkers are not doing their jobs. So to me, there's nothing wrong with Trump feeling like he won Georgia and asking Kemp to open an investigation to ensure that he didn't win Georgia, if that is the case. I wholeheartedly believe he had a very warranted reason for wanting to launch an investigation. And it's actually unfortunate that we didn't go forward with that. And it's even worse that he's now on trial for asking those questions, even though we have all that evidence. Like, the rest of the world doesn't live in Georgia, but I do. And I can tell you those news stories were available that night, that all of these weird mishappenings were going on at these polling places. These were not theories that were made up by Donald Trump. These were not things he pulled out of his ass, excuse me. But like, that's the truth. If you, and anybody who lives here can tell you, yeah, a water pipe burst out of nowhere. Yeah, we did see the video of the old lady counting the ballots, and then she had 2 things on the table, but you saw her sitting ballots off to the side. Like, these are not made up myths. I saw it with my own eyes. So it's like, the fact that people are trying to paint Trump as a crazy man because all of the nation isn't Georgia, but everybody in Georgia knows that Trump isn't lying, is it's actually really interesting to me to see how the media is able to make somebody look crazy, even though that same media was reporting on the same information that Trump is bringing to light as well.
Okay. You mentioned the Russia-Ukraine war situation. 500,000 soldiers have died in that war. We've given them $200,000 in money, weapons, personnel. They're still continue to lose that war. At what point do you say, wait a minute, we got a lot of problems here at home in Utah, in Georgia, in Florida, in New York. We need to start helping American citizens. Does that ever happen? Or do you think the military-industrial complex has such a stranglehold on the White House and Washington, D.C., that they'll just continue to ship our taxpayer money off to these foreign nations forever?
I don't think that the military-industrial complex necessarily has control over the White House, because We didn't see these things under the Trump administration. We weren't in everybody's business in the Trump administration. In fact, Trump was actually trying to make sure that all of our jobs were brought back here so that people didn't have a reason to outsource them somewhere else. And Trump was threatening to stop accepting imports and exports from other countries if they didn't want to pay these taxes. Like, there's no way that we can argue that Trump didn't try his best to put America first. I've only seen it in other administrations in which foreign wars were a priority. And while I guess I won't speak too much on wars because I'm not a veteran or anything like that, but I don't think that foreign interest is enough to warrant causing the country back home to suffer. Like, if we have so much stuff going on over here, I'm sorry that there may or not be human rights violations happening in another country, but there are 197 countries on this earth. The United States doesn't have to be the only one to save everybody, because when the United States runs out of resources, if Kamala Harris was to win again and they print more money and they just give away more money and resources to these migrants and they keep sending money overseas that we don't have, we will see ourselves fall into a Great Depression. And I doubt any of these countries that we're bailing out would then line up and send their troops to bail us out. So it's time for the United States to understand that sometimes being selfish is okay, especially if all your citizens are begging you to pay attention to them.
Yeah. I'm sure you talk to a lot of people, Democrat, Republican, family, friends, coworkers, people in the street. What feedback or feeling do you get when the conversation comes up that California wants to give illegal immigrants $150,000 to buy houses, or that we're giving another $60 billion to Ukraine, but there's no money for senior citizens, veterans, or schools here in America, that, you know, we just have to deal with the high gas prices in order to stick it to Putin. What, from your community, what is the feedback that you hear from family and friends?
They hate it. I actually just got a text message from one of my homegirls last night where her coworker had sent her the article from the Shade Room that highlighted that these migrants were now getting all of this down payment assistance to buy a home. And she noted that she can't get any help to buy her home and that she was actually trying to buy a home this past year and she can't get a home yet. Now we're going to offer the number one thing you need to get a house, your down payment, to these migrants who came here illegally. Like, nobody enjoys being put last. And unfortunately, when it comes to Black people, you know, if America is put last, then Black people are 1000% at the bottom of the totem pole. Because additionally, the one thing that we never admit is that we don't seek out information and resources like other people do. And then we don't share information and resources like other people do. We're a very every man for himself type community, even though the Democratic Party will get up and parade us around as one big family. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, it's every man out for himself. And that's proven because if Black people really cared about advancement and wanted to come together and do something, then when all those stimulus checks dropped, you would have seen Black people come together around a common cause and make some things happen in the community. But we did not see that. So this whole idea that, you know, Black people all think alike and always come together for the betterment of other Black people is a lie. And then to also think that, you know, just because this Black woman is running for office, that she's going to do everything you need her to do to better your quality of life is also a lie. And then to act like Kamala Harris didn't get on camera and say she would never do anything specifically for Black people, to act like that video clip doesn't exist, to act like she can come out of that as a champion for the Black community, even though she let the Black community know she has no intention on doing anything specifically for us. It's incredible how we're still amassing all of our support and all of our dollars and all of our media time towards her. And it's like, she already let us know we're not going to get anything out of her administration. You know, she already is, you know, I guess trying to go to bat with her. Oh, I'll help Americans with their down payment. But it's like, you're not telling anybody where that money's coming from. And printing more money is not going to solve our problem. If anything, printing more money is going to be the reason why our dollar is useless. And we're really not prepared for a crisis like that. So everybody's done with these America Last policies that we see coming from the Biden-Harris administration, and nobody expects anything different from a Harris-Waltz administration.
Yeah. I'm sure you know people that are struggling to pay their bills. I know people that are struggling to pay their bills. When they hear that illegal immigrants are being put up in $700 a night hotels, totaling, $21,000 a month. The average person on Social Security doesn't get $21,000 in a year. Some people are getting upwards of $10,000 a month in food stamps. You hear these numbers and you think about the 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford a $500 emergency. And yet these illegals who snuck into the country, they're taking advantage of the goodness of America and the forced taxation of America. What are people in your community saying or feeling when they hear about all of the benefits that illegals are getting and the benefits that they're not getting help with?
They're highlighting the fact that regardless if they're black, white, yellow, brown, pink, purple, whatever, they would never qualify for these same benefits. And something's wrong with that. Your military service should qualify you for those same benefits. Yet we have homeless and starving veterans. If you grew up without any parents, you were a foster child, your parents are dead, your parents fell victim to drugs, your parents are in and out of prison, whatever. You didn't ask for that life. So if you age out of foster care, you should be offered those same benefits to get a leg up in America as well, because you were dealt an unfair hand. Yet foster children are not eligible for benefits like that. If you are somebody who pays taxes here, who's doing everything in their power to keep a roof above their head, but you are in between jobs, or you get in an accident and you miss some work, or you get sick and you miss work, and now you need a leg up, you should be able to apply for a stimulus package like the one we're giving these people who are hopping over the border. But instead, you're called lazy. Instead, you're told to go to church and pray about it. Instead, you're told to look elsewhere and find some resources, go to these different PACs and nonprofit organizations. Meanwhile, your federal government that you elected and that you pay taxes to run is giving all the resources that you need to somebody else. I don't know one person who, when the conversation happens like that, can say, yes, I can appreciate the fact that I, as a single mother, can't get down payment on a house assistance and I can't get free childcare, but God bless the migrants who made their way over here and now can get free childcare. Or I am a single father and I'm struggling to put groceries on the table, but thank God those migrants are getting $10,000 a month in food stamps, or, oh, I'm an elderly grandparent struggling to take care of these kids, but thank God these migrants get free rent. It's nuts, the everyday situations that people are in that they cannot get help for because they're seen as somebody making an excuse for their current situation. Yet, whatever reason these migrants have to come over here, it's never looked at as an excuse. It's never looked at as something that they can go somewhere else and get the help that they need. It's never looked at as something that they should just pray about and wait on, it to change. It's always, oh, come here, we got you. Yet as an American citizen who breaks their back every week, punching those 40, 50, 60, some people 80 hours a week, you can't get any help. That's nuts. But you pay for the help that is being given to somebody else. That's nuts.
Yeah, no, it's completely nuts. It's heartbreaking. I don't know what to do about it other than get rid of the current leadership.
That's all. It's disrespectful. The only thing you can do is get rid of the current leadership. They have made it extremely clear that they want to put Americans last, that they want to put families last, that they want to put parents say so in their child's lives last. They want to literally destroy America from the ground up. And so to act like these things are good for us, to act like this will bring joy, to act like this is what we should be hopeful about is one of the most disheartening things that I see every time I turn on the news, because I just cannot believe that so many people are so easily influenced and swayed like this to where they would ignore their current reality and feed into the dream that they're being sold by yet another Democratic candidate.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Final question here. I read this morning that Kamala Harris has had 90% of her staff turn over in her 3.5 years as vice president. I also know that she's running her campaign on all the joy she can bring to America. Do you think the 90% of people quit working for her because it was just too much joy to be around?
It had to be a joyous experience. You know, me personally, I leave every job I've ever been happy at. Like, I aim to be miserable in the workplace. You see how crazy that sounded? Exactly. And therefore, it's only right to assume that these people were miserable in the workplace. I've actually read some of those articles, and the people say that she talks to people, she talks down to people. They said that she's snappy. People have admitted that she has no idea what's going on in these briefings and that she's not knowledgeable on what's being discussed, what's being voted on, what's being debated about. Like, it's been coming out for the past 4 years that she's not qualified to be where she is. We're here trying to promote her.
Yeah. I just, like, my brain was like, okay, you've had 90% turnover, and yet your message is that you're going to bring joy. Well, if that's the joy you're bringing, there's going to be 90% turnover in America. Like, we're going to revolt and not want to be a part of this anymore.
Absolutely. If she was bringing that much joy, she wouldn't have to focus on so much Trump hate. You wouldn't be trying to drive so many people to hate Donald Trump if you really brought people that much joy, because they wouldn't have time to hate on the next person because they're so happy where they are at. When you are happy, when you are making money, when you are doing what you want to do, you are not worried about the next person. But if you got time to hate on somebody, then clearly you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm sorry, but you are still the vice president. You have a little bit too much time to worry about making personal attacks against your opponent rather than focus on the policies that you should be working on right now and how you will continue said successes if you were to win again. But we're not seeing that. And we're not going to see that because there has been no successes these last 3.5 years. So all they can do is, let me rile the people up by telling them that Trump is dumb and Trump sucks and Trump is a sexist and whatever the word is when you love men, something patriarchy or toxic masculinity. I don't know what it is that they be talking about, but everything is just Trump is a bad person. Trump is a bad person. Trump is a bad person. You have yet to hear Kamala say Trump passed this bill and it hurt America in this way. Yeah, Donald Trump can get up and tell you that Kamala Harris passed this bill. Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote on this bill, and it hurt America in this way. And notice how she will not answer to these things. There's a reason why she's ducking from the cameras. There's a reason why she's not doing any pop-up, taking media questions. There's a reason why she's not, engaging with her audiences anywhere else if it's not behind a teleprompter. The reason why is because she's not supposed to be where she is. And that's not somebody hating on them. It's like if the insider information has already been leaked, and every time she does get up on TV or talk to anybody without a teleprompter, she talks in circles. The significance about the insignificance of time and why it's significant in the present time that you're in. Like, baby, what? Like, if we highlighted more her lack of ability to even hold a real press conference, maybe people would understand. And I feel like in the debate, she's going to do a really good job at trying to spearhead Trump into looking like a racist to divert away from her lack of policy. And again, she's going to keep bringing this tone of hope and joy to the debate. And I think she's really going to do a good job at deflecting away from the fact that nobody has felt hopeful or joyous since they took office. And all I wish I could do a better job at is just encouraging people to read between the lines and encouraging people to pay attention to their life when the TV is turned off, when your phone, when you hit that lock button, like, look at your life. It's not where you thought it was going to be because Joe Biden made it into office. And you can expect the same thing if Kamala Harris was to win into office. If you want to see something different, if you want to see change, you have to change the way you vote. You have to vote somebody different in there. And that's what people need to understand when they're going to the polls in November. You're not going to see any changes unless you change the tone of the entire administration. Continuing with these Democratic policies, these extremely liberal policies are only going to lead us down the same path that we've been going down. If you want change, you got to, change something about yourself. And it starts with how you vote.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's motivating. In our final minutes together, you're the founder of Conserve the Culture. What is that about?
So Conserve the Culture actually started out as basically a staffing agency for campaigns. So when it came time to knock doors, make phone calls, wave signs, all of those things, I would get the phone call because I was good at putting a team together. And so that business just basically grew throughout the years. And so now I have a bunch of students who, rely on me for work throughout their school year because I'm the resource where, you don't have to worry about sticking to a schedule because I understand that things come up, group projects happen. Like you have, reasons as to why you need to miss work. And then, just being the resource that they know you need. Oh, hey, Kayla, can I get paid early because my phone bill is due? Yeah, I got you. A regular job wouldn't do that. Hey, Kayla, can I get paid early because I need to purchase this access code for class? Like, yeah, I got you. Hey, Kayla, do you know anybody that might be able to help me pay off this balance so that I can remain enrolled? And then, make a couple phone calls. Anybody need a mentor? Anybody need an intern? Anybody need anything for the small price of $800? You can help her stay enrolled and she'll work for you all semester. Like these are all, just connecting people with resources, because even if you're not a Republican, even if you're not a conservative, you do deserve to have the information. And the one thing all of my kids will tell you is that, one, I've never pressured them to support anybody, but I've always encouraged them to get all the information. And don't get it from TV, don't get it from social media. Actually show up to the town hall and ask the questions. Actually show up to the networking mixer and introduce yourself. Actually show up to the debate watch parties and hear what people are saying about the different candidates on ground and get the clarification that you're not always going to get from the candidate, but you can get it from somebody who understands politics better than you do at these parties. Like, you guys deserve to understand all that is going on, because that's the only way you can make an informed decision at the polls. Like, your vote isn't something that you should just give away. You should know exactly what you're voting for and why you're voting for this person. And if this person is in alignment with your personal views, your vote is unique to you. And I just wanted my kids to, one, get excited about politics and just meeting a candidate, whether it be a city councilman, a senator, a mayor. Like, a lot of these kids have never done that before. So imagine the joy when they were able to meet a president. Like, being able to walk students into rooms that they've always been led to believe they don't belong in is one of the most rewarding parts of my work. And so regardless of people feeling like, oh, well, they shouldn't be here or they shouldn't be there, how dare you guys demean kids for expanding their knowledge and understanding of politics? And because now they're seeing how different things are on TV and in real life, this has ignited the political flame in them, because they're like, ooh, like, I know for a fact that's not true, or ooh, I was actually there. They're not talking about it right. Like, it's they're like amazed now with how much politics just changes things, how the media can really make things look a certain way, how people can really drive an audience to hate one person and love another person. Like, the opportunities I've been able to present them with has really opened their minds. And regardless of, what the general sentiment may be around Trump, I know for a fact that I have a good 100, 200 foot soldiers ready to tell folks, no, you guys need to get with the program. Like, we're not voting based on what we really believe in. We're just voting on who people tell us to vote for. And even if you want to still vote for Kamala Harris, that's cool. I just expect you to know why you're voting for Kamala Harris. If you're going to vote for Trump, great. Welcome to this side. But do you know why you're voting for President Trump? Because my goal also isn't just to get these kids voting, but to get them passionate about things that are important to them so that they'll stay involved even when we're not in an election cycle. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is an organization that stays active whether we're electing people or not. And if you've ever lost someone to a drunk driver, that might be a cause that's important to you. The NRA operates all year. And so if you like being a gun-toting, pistol-branded person, then maybe you want to get involved with the NRA. Pro-lifers do marches and have events all year. So if you genuinely care about protecting the sanctity of life, then get involved with some of these groups. But just getting them out to vote on election day, to me, isn't enough. You have to cultivate relationships and get a genuine interest in politics so that these people will be lifelong voters, so that these people will always encourage their friends to vote, so that these people will always encourage their families to vote, and so that these people won't be afraid to talk about the importance of voting because they've been a part of the political processes. So conservative culture is everything a kid could ever need in life. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds like they're lucky to have you as a mentor. You got a lot of great stuff going on. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on. This has been a really great conversation. It's nice to hear from somebody on the other side of the country and get their feedback, understand what their city and community is thinking about big topics. If people want to follow you online, Michaela, what's the best place for me to send them?
I am most active on Instagram, but my handles on Instagram, Twitter or X, and TikTok are all the same. I'm Miss Kayla Baby. That's MISSKAYLAABABII.
Okay, great. Well, I will put a direct link so that people can find you easily. Thank you again for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well.